Hello and welcome to WebSphere application server overview. In this video, we can take a look at WebSphere application server and its migration overview. This migration overview will clarify what we will be discussing. The purpose of this video is to provide information required to plan and execute a WebSphere application server migration. The goal is to enable customers to do this migration themselves without requiring assistance. There has been a significant improvement over time in the ability to more easily make this happen. It contains overall planning guidelines as well as detailed migration concerns for your awareness. It does not prescribe one migration path. It includes varies with customer policies, it varies with versions involved, it varies with customer procedure. You can use this information as a guide to build your own plan while doing migration in WebSphere application server. This is an overview of migration. It is very easy to think migration in narrow terms, but it is dangerous to do so. Application developers often tend to think of migration only in terms of changes to the application code, and administrators think primarily of the production runtime environment. But we have to be careful in planning the migration. Each situation is unique. There is no one standard plan in this migration. Migration considers more than just software development. It also considers applications, infrastructures, education, and culture. It easily manages complexity, exceptions, expense, and risk. This is a migration roadmap. Here we can see the pictorial view of migration plan roadmap. The first step is assessment. This step is very important as it identifies each of the factors that will have an impact on the migration plan. It is effectively requirement gathering based on individual company situation. Next is the planning. It takes the factors identified in the assessment step and builds a specific set of actions and a proposed timeline for those actions. The third one is a skill set. This step addresses upgrading and skill gaps that have been identified. At this point, there are two paths that can be worked in a parallel. I typically talk about runtime environment first because this is how it flows. This path describes the iterative scenario to apply the runtime part of the migration path. Next is the development environment. In development environment, the steps include code migration and unit test. It takes the standard iterative cycle of development to one more suggested degree when doing a WebSphere application server migration. Next one is the test. It rolls applications or set of applications through the certification test cycle that is in place of the company. It reviews the results. This is a good time to do a self-assessment to the success or failures of the different steps of the migration. This step identifies each of the factors will have an impact on the migration plans and the actions that have been required. This is the assessment step. It gathers the people. It identifies education requirements. It also takes care of hardware requirements, topology assessments, and others. This is a planning phase. It also builds a plan based on assessment and starts its migration. It plans for the hardware requirements, prerequisite software upgrades. It also plans for educational needs and others. This is the skills phase. This is the new development tooling phase. It checks for the changes in the WebSphere administration model. It takes care of the changes in the latest WebSphere version. This is the runtime environment phase. It includes the steps like runtime migration and test systems. This is most likely will need to support parallel development. This also tests integration, system testing, performance testing, pre-production testing, and production testing. This is basically based on your environment. This is the development phase. The codes include code migration and unit test. It is likely require a change in the IDE, integrated development environment. If development is required, do it iteratively. Initially, it makes changes that are required to support version migration. It tests the depth of the test environment that fits your comfort level. Then do any necessary new code development and iterative following your standard practices. It takes advantages of migration tools. This is a test This is the last and final phase in migration: test, production, and review. It runs all your standard test process. It ensures performance. It reviews the results of the migration. Thank you.